Before me, it is as if the book of destinies is open. Some pages are clear, others are covered in darkness, but everyone has their destined path. Vanga. In a world full of mysteries and unexplained phenomena, there exist individuals whose abilities remain beyond scientific explanation. Among them is Vangelia Pandeva Gushterova, better known as Vanga. Her name is shrouded in mysticism, her prophecies spark debates, and her life remains one of the most astonishing stories of the 20th century. Born into a poor Bulgarian family, she journeyed from an unknown blind girl to one of the most respected seers of modern times. Some consider her a great clairvoyant whose predictions came true with eerie accuracy. Others see her as a tool of political propaganda. Some claim that her predictions were merely the result of suggestion and folk legends. But regardless of how one perceives her gift, one thing is certain: Vanga has forever entered history. A childhood filled with suffering, the birth of Vangelia. Vangelia was born on January 31, 1911, in the village of Strumica, then part of the Ottoman Empire, now North Macedonia. Her parents were simple peasants living in poverty. Her father, Pandeva, was a soldier and was often away from home, while her mother passed away when Vanga was just a few years old. Relatives took care of her upbringing, but due to the difficult situation in the family, she had to learn independence early on. An accident and the loss of sight. When the girl was 12 years old, an event occurred that changed her life forever. One day she was playing outside when a powerful hurricane suddenly arose. The wind was so strong that it lifted her into the air and threw her several meters away. When she was found, she was unconscious, and her eyes were filled with sand and dust. A step into the unknown, the first years with her gift. After the hurricane accident, 12-year-old Vanga struggled to recover. Having become completely blind, she began to experience something strange. At first she was plagued by vivid yet incomprehensible dreams. Strangers appeared to her, visions of events she had never seen. Sometimes they were scenes from the past, sometimes from the future. I felt something immense, as if another world was opening before me. People spoke to me in my dreams, but their voices were not human. She started to notice that she could predict small, everyday events. She knew when someone would return home. She predicted the weather without any signs. She could tell where lost objects were. At first, her family dismissed these occurrences, but soon things began to happen that could not be explained by mere coincidence. The first shocking predictions. Everything changed in 1923 when Vanga was 12 years old. A neighbor, a farmer, lost his cow. The animal had disappeared, and no one could find it. Then Vanga, as if guided by intuition, said that the cow was in a nearby village by the river. The farmer went there, and indeed found the missing animal. After this incident, people started asking her about various things. At first, only relatives and neighbors, but soon rumors spread throughout the area. She did not just guess things. She saw them in her mind. It was strange. I closed my eyes and saw a place as if I were standing there. I saw people. I heard their conversations, but I had never been there. As Vanga grew older, her gift became more pronounced: recognition and fear. Not everyone perceived Vanga's abilities in the same way, family and close ones. Her father, Pandeva, initially did not believe his daughter's stories, but after several instances where she predicted events with alarming accuracy, he began to reconsider. Her sister, Lyubka, and stepmother were cautious. They feared that people would start considering Vanga a witch and advised her to keep quiet. "Don't tell people what you see. They won't understand and will turn away from you." But Vanga could not remain silent. Neighbors and villagers. When word spread that the blind girl saw things beyond ordinary sight, opinions among the people were divided. Some believed. They came to Vanga with requests, sought advice, and wanted to know their future. Others were afraid. Rumors spread in the village that she was possessed, that spirits or even the devil spoke through her. Some hated her. Envy and fear fueled hostility. Some believed that Vanga would bring misfortune. People who believed me were grateful. People who didn't believe called me a witch. She was called cursed and the girl with eyes that see nothing but know everything. How she endured her gift. Being a seer in a poor Bulgarian village in the early 20th century was no blessing. Vanga felt lonely. I wanted to be a normal girl, but fate decided otherwise. She often cried. Her visions were terrifying, sometimes disturbing. She could not control them, and this frightened her. But gradually she adapted. If I was given this sight, then it must be for a reason. She did not choose this gift. It simply came to her. She did not know why she saw the future. She could not refuse her gift. 18 years old, a major turning point. When Vanga turned 18, her father remarried. With more children in the family, money was scarce. One day, people from a neighboring town came to their house. They had heard of her gift and offered her a place to stay, where she could help people. This was the first step in making her abilities known beyond her village. But with this came new challenges. In the future, she was destined to become the most famous prophetess of the 20th century. But for now, she was just a blind girl who could see the future but could not change it. Official recognition. In 1941, when Bulgaria entered World War II, not only peasants but also soldiers began visiting Vanga. It is said that one day an officer came to her and asked how the war would end. Vanga replied, "It will soon be over. The winners will not be those who seem strongest now." Later, she predicted the outcome of the war and even the death of Hitler. From that moment, her gift began attracting the attention not only of ordinary people, but also of those in power. The most famous predictions of Vanga on the internet and in newspapers. Prediction of World War II. As early as the 1930s, Vanga said, "Soon the world will be engulfed in flames. There will be a great war, and millions will perish." When World War II began, her prophecies started coming true, one by one. Outcome of World War II. In 1941, when Bulgaria was already under Nazi Germany's influence, people began visiting Vanga for advice. One day, an officer asked her how the war would end. She replied, "It will all end soon. The country will be in flames, but those who are strong now will not be the victors." She predicted Hitler's defeat several years before the war ended. Later, her words were confirmed. The 44th President of the United States will be black and will be the last. America will freeze. The new ruler will be black, and he will be the last for the country. After this, the U.S. will collapse. When Barack Obama became the 44th President of the United States in 2008, Vanga's followers claimed this was proof of her accuracy. However, the prediction did not come true. After Obama, Donald Trump and Joe Biden became presidents, and the U.S. did not collapse. Prediction of Stalin's death. In 1953, Vanga predicted the imminent death of Joseph Stalin. She said, "The leader's heart will stop, and that he will fall, but his spirit will haunt people for a long time." A few days later, the Soviet leader passed away, one of Vanga's most frightening prophecies. In November 2010, a great war will begin, at first conventional, then nuclear. By 2016, Europe will be deserted. Clearly, this prediction did not come true. While conflicts occur worldwide, no global nuclear war has happened. Chernobyl nuclear disaster. One of her most terrifying prophecies was about Chernobyl. In 1980, Vanga reportedly said, "A city of the dead, people dying from a terrible disease, rivers poisoned, land barren, darkness over this place." 6 years later, in 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster occurred. However, before 1986, there was no recorded evidence that Vanga had predicted Chernobyl. This prophecy only surfaced after the disaster. September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. One of her most famous alleged predictions was about the attacks on the Twin Towers in New York. Fear, fear. American brothers will fall, pecked by iron birds. Wolves will howl from the bushes, and innocent blood will flow like a river. The events of September 11, 2001 shocked the world. Many believe Vanga foresaw the tragedy. However, there are two problems with this prophecy. It only appeared after the attacks. No early records mention it. It is too vague. Iron birds could mean anything. Most likely, this prediction was added retrospectively. Vanga and the state's influence. In the 1960s, Bulgarian authorities actively promoted Vanga's image. Soviet journalists and scientists began studying her. However, archives in Bulgaria and the USSR revealed compromising documents. Some meetings with people were staged. Vanga's assistants gathered information about visitors in advance. Her predictions were too general and could apply to any event. When she was wrong, she simply changed the interpretation of her predictions. Journalistic investigations and criticism. In the 1980s, journalist Sergei Bobrov conducted an investigation and discovered that many of Vanga's prophecies were not recorded before events occurred, but appeared afterward. Official records of her predictions differed across sources, suggesting falsifications. She often rephrased her statements when something did not come true. How the government used Vanga. Vanga was well known in socialist Bulgaria. Authorities used her popularity to strengthen trust in the regime. If people believe in prophecies, they won't question the government. She became part of state propaganda. She received party leaders. She stated that communism was the right path. The authorities controlled her predictions. She was used as a tool of influence. Cases where Vanga was wrong. Several examples of her incorrect predictions. She claimed that Bulgaria would win the 1994 FIFA World Cup. It didn't. In 1990, she predicted that Europe would cease to exist by 2015. She said a cure for cancer would be found in 2013. None of these predictions came true. Predictions for the future. Vanga did not only speak about the past and present, but also about the distant future, 2025 to 2030, worsening global conflicts, new diseases, 2040s, artificial intelligence development, new technological breakthroughs, 2060s, contact with extraterrestrial civilizations, 2010s, a radical shift in the world order, truth or myth. Were Vanga's predictions real? Skeptical view. Many of her predictions were formulated vaguely, allowing for multiple interpretations. This ambiguity enabled followers to find connections between her words and real events. For example, the Iron Birds prediction allegedly referring to the September 11th attacks. However, no credible sources confirm that Vanga made this prediction before the attacks. It likely emerged afterward, casting doubt on its authenticity. The self-fulfilling prophecy phenomenon. A psychological phenomenon where people's beliefs influence their actions, leading to the fulfillment of their expectations. In Vanga's case, this means that people may have interpreted her words to match real events or even acted in ways that made her predictions come true. Psychologist Olga Danilenko notes, there is a phenomenon of the self-fulfilling prophecy that remains largely unexplored. In general, our understanding of the human brain is still limited. From my professional experience, I can say that in a heightened emotional state, when the brain is working at full speed, a person can become particularly sensitive to others' conditions and read deeply personal information, even about the future. Vanga was always highly attuned to people. Empathy was her gift. Debunking and criticism. Research by academician Evgeny Alexandrov. Academician Evgeny Alexandrov, head of the Russian Academy of Sciences Commission on Pseudoscience, is skeptical about Vanga's phenomenon. He states that there is no scientific proof of paranormal abilities like clairvoyance or telepathy. There is no clairvoyance, no telepathy, no biolocation or telekinesis, no poltergeist or spiritism. The list of such phenomena is long, but they all stem from suggestion. This has been proven through many objective tests. Vanga, as a project of special services. Some claim that Vanga was used by Bulgarian and Soviet intelligence for political purposes. Her prophecies might have been a propaganda tool to reinforce ideological positions. Others argue that Vanga was a secret project of Bulgarian intelligence and the KGB. Psychological aspects of belief in predictions. The Barnum effect. People tend to accept vague general statements as personal and meaningful. This psychological phenomenon explains why many believe in predictions, horoscopes, and other broad claims. People really can perceive vague and general statements as precise and personally relevant. The desire to believe in miracles. In difficult times, people seek comfort and hope, turning to prophets and seers. Belief in predictions helps cope with uncertainty and fears about the future. Developing critical thinking is essential. Blind belief in esotericism and fortune tellers is not advisable, but total skepticism can also limit creative exploration, including in science. A mystery that remains. Vanga passed away on August 11, 1996, leaving behind hundreds of mysteries, thousands of followers, and millions of questions. Her name has become part of popular culture, inspiring films, books, and research. Was Vanga a true prophet or a victim of collective suggestion? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between mysticism and reality. One thing is certain, her name will remain in history and her predictions will continue to be debated for years to come. What do you think about her predictions, truth or fiction? Leave a comment and like this post. It means a lot to me.